My girlfriend made a TikTok rating. Guys she's dated and put me at 1 out of 10. My current victim, she laughed. Yes, he's pathetic, but his credit card works. Fat, ugly, zero personality, but he bought me this Chanel bag. I just laughed along and said it was hilarious. 2 weeks later, she's texting me 99 plus times daily, and her mother keeps begging. She hasn't left her room in 2 weeks and won't stop crying. Please forgive her. Throwaway account because I don't want this connected to my main. Also, my writing isn't perfect, so don't nitpick. I'm just telling this story straight. Quick background. I'm Darren Morales, 33, from South Jersey. Dad did HVAC, mom worked hospital night shifts. I paid for community college fixing forklifts and unloading trucks. Brutal work, but it taught me honest labor has dignity, even when your back aches and your hands stay stained with grease. After graduation, I landed a junior operations job at a distribution center. Turns out I'm good with patterns and processes. I can look at a chaotic warehouse and immediately see how to make it run smoother. I spot inefficiencies that cost thousands and design systems that save time and money. By 29, I'd saved enough to start my own company, designing workflow systems for local businesses. Nothing glamorous. Excel spreadsheets, barcode scanners, walking warehouses with clipboards. But it works. Now I've got 4 employees, a leased Tacoma, and a mortgage on a modest Collingswood house. Comfortable, not rich. Nice dinner once a week, but no impulse designer purchases. Enter Madeline Street Claire. Everyone called her Maddie St. Clair, like she was luxury perfume. She's 25, salon blonde with extensions costing more than my truck payment, and a TikTok micro-influencer with 45.8 thousand followers. Her content was pure performative aesthetic. Fake morning routines arranging the same props 15 ways. Shopping hauls featuring clothes she'd return within 48 hours. And day-in-my-life videos that were 70% artfully arranged coffee cups and 30% lip gloss application. She had that specific mean girl smile that makes you think she's flirting until you realize she's calculating how much money she can extract from your wallet. Her business model: brand sample boxes worth $12, promo codes earning maybe 50 per post, and recovering by her parents' pool whenever burnt out from filming herself drinking smoothies and pretending to read business books. We'd been dating 8 months when everything imploded. I'll be honest, I liked the attention initially. She's undeniably attractive in that high-maintenance Instagram way, and having a pretty girl constantly taking photos made me feel more interesting than I actually am. But things went sideways fast. She kept pushing me to up-level everything: wardrobe, restaurants, vacation destinations, even my car. She'd say, "Babe, it's all content creation. The memories are the return on investment." Massive red flag. But I was thinking with the wrong head. Meanwhile, I paid every single bill. Every dinner, movie, coffee, Uber ride. She had supernatural ability to forget her wallet or discover her card was acting weird when checks arrived. Venmo requests to pay me back would come through and mysteriously never get fulfilled. 2 crucial details. First, I bought her a Saint Laurent Lulu bag for $2,850 after she accidentally left the product page open on my iPad 3 consecutive days. She'd casually mention loving it, show me celebrity photos carrying the same bag, hint how it would be perfect for content creation. Took 5 weekends of overtime to justify that expense. Yes, incredibly stupid. Yes, I knew it was stupid, but I was trying to make her happy. Second, my best friend is Rafi Haddad, former Army Reserve, union electrician who moonlights as an absolute menace in group chats. Picture the guy who can rewire your house and roast you so hard you question life choices. Same afternoon. Military humor where everything sounds like dad jokes until you realize there's a knife in the punchline. The night that changed everything started innocently. We're at Romano's Trattoria celebrating Maddie landing some tiny brand collaboration, maybe $200 in free earrings. I pick up the check because it's a partnership dinner, and apparently that means financing her business celebrations. She keeps giggling at her phone like a hyperactive chihuahua discovering caffeine, thumb moving at inhuman speed through comments and DMs. "Just wait until you see what I posted earlier," she says, not looking up. 3,000 views in 2 hours. The engagement is insane. I should have asked what the video was about. Should have demanded to see it. But I was tired from fixing someone's inventory disaster, and I'd learned to tune out social media chatter. It all sounded the same. Views, engagement, partnerships, white noise. Later, movie night at my place. We have a no-phones rule. I was trying to preserve some authenticity. Her notifications start going off like a jackpot slot machine. Buzz, buzz, buzz. She keeps grabbing it, checking messages, typing responses. Babe, can you please put it on silent? Sorry, it's just going crazy tonight. Must be the algorithm. Then she fumbles while silencing it, hits wrong button, and suddenly her TikTok starts blaring through my sound system. Title overlay in bubble letters. Rating guys I've dated, 1 to 10. No mercy LOL. My stomach drops, but maybe I'm not in it. Maybe this is old content. Clips fly by. Various exes get ratings between 4 and 8 with brutal but generic criticisms. Then the video freezes on a frame that turns my blood to ice. It's me. Mid-sandwich bite. Shot from below at the worst angle. Stomach not sucked in. Hair thinning. Wrinkled t-shirt. The image freezes while transition music builds. Text overlay appears in huge, hateful letters. 1/10. Current victim. Maddie's voiceover continues with barely contained laughter. Okay, so this one is honestly pathetic, but his credit card works and he never questions anything. Fat, ugly, zero personality, dresses like he shops at gas stations. But he bought me this. Cut to her holding the Saint Laurent bag like an Emmy award. So thanks for the $28.50, Darren. Sometimes you take one for the team, you know? Comments slide up automatically. Girl, get that bag and dip. Milk him dry. Queen. Stop. He looks like he smells like cheese and sadness. The sandwich bite, I'm deceased. Get her coins, sis. Ugly guys need love too. Maddie lunges for her phone, but too late. I saw everything. Heard every word. Felt every comment like physical blows. Here's what probably saved my sanity. I didn't yell. Didn't storm out. Instead, I did the most confusing thing possible. I laughed. Genuine belly laugh like I'd heard the best joke ever. That's actually pretty funny, babe, I said, voice completely calm. Great satire content. You really nailed the character work. She blinked like a confused lizard under a heat lamp, clearly expecting an explosion that never came. It's not, she stammered. No, seriously, solid production value, good editing. The sandwich timing was perfect comedy. I stretched and yawned. What do you want to watch next? We finished the movie in weird silence. She kept stealing glances like I was a bomb ready to explode. Around 11, she made excuses about early morning and left. 10 minutes after her car pulled away, Rafi's truck lights illuminated my yard. He was dropping off a circuit breaker and found me staring blankly at a spreadsheet. You look like someone ran over your dog, he said. What happened? I told him everything. The video, comments, bag, current victim label. He listened without interrupting, expression getting darker with each detail. 30 seconds of complete silence, just processing. Then, in that particular tone, meaning someone's about to get educated. So we're going to teach Miss Influenza here the difference between follower counts and real-world consequences. First rule from Rafi, delivered while installing my circuit breaker. Don't feed her any drama calories. If I blow up, it becomes content. If I confront her directly, she records my breakdown and turns me into her next viral moment. The internet loves a man having a public meltdown, especially when a pretty girl can frame it as proof of his instability. You go nuclear, she wins, he explained, testing my outlets. She turns you into the crazy ex-boyfriend who couldn't handle the joke. You become the villain in her victim story. So we decided to play completely dead while planning something more sophisticated. I laid out everything I knew about Maddie's life from 8 months of dating someone who never stopped talking about herself. She was essentially a clout parasite, surviving on free restaurant meals, borrowed boutique outfits she'd return, and parental subsidies. Her father owned 3 pre-owned luxury car dealerships, selling 5-year-old BMWs to people wanting to look wealthy on middle-class budgets. Her mother sold high-end homes to people who thought shiplap was a personality trait. Maddie had dropped out of marketing halfway through junior year because school moves too slow for entrepreneurs. She'd been convinced she could skip education and jump directly to being famous for being pretty. Her follower count was legitimate, but engagement had been declining for 6 months. The only spikes happened when she manufactured boyfriend drama, posted controversial takes, or showed off expensive gifts someone else bought. My professional network consisted of small business owners I'd helped with inventory management and workflow design. Nothing glamorous, but genuine loyalty built on actual results. When your inventory shrinkage drops 30% and order fulfillment improves by half, you remember who made that happen. Access was her oxygen. Without it, she couldn't breathe. Rafi helped me map her routine with military precision. Every Sunday, Cafe Lorette for brunch content, same corner window table, ring light blazing while arranging avocado toast for 45 minutes. Every Thursday, Luke's a nail salon for new set every week content, complete with close-up videos of nail art costing more than most grocery budgets. Twice weekly, Sienna Boutique for try-on hauls, where she'd grab armfuls of clothes, film herself modeling them, tag the boutique for exposure, then return everything within 7 days. Random evenings, various restaurants where she'd approach managers suggesting collaboration opportunities, mentioning follower counts instead of paying. I made polite phone calls to my network. No conspiracy, no lies. Just reminded them how I'd helped their businesses and mentioned I was stepping back from anything complicating my personal life. Most didn't need full explanation. They'd dealt with Maddie before. Cafe Lorette suddenly discovered serious plumbing issues under their corner window section requiring at least a month of repairs. The manager offered other tables, but the waitlist stayed mysteriously full. Luxa Nail Salon developed unexpected waitlists for popular time slots. So sorry, completely booked for 6 weeks. We can do Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.s? Tuesday mornings didn't work for content. Wrong lighting, followers weren't active. Sienna Boutique updated their return policy to 48 hours maximum and added a clause, no returns on items featured in social media content. Meanwhile, I documented everything like the world's most meticulous accountant. Screenshots of forgotten wallet conversations. Venmo requests that never got fulfilled. Restaurant receipts where I clearly paid for both meals. Timestamps showing expense requests and repayment promises. Rafi dubbed my Google Drive folder the evidence locker, saying, "She keeps stepping on rakes and we're just collecting them." His daily motivation text, "Remember, brother, she literally called you her current victim. We're just moving the noose away from your neck and letting her hang herself." By Wednesday of the first week, the cracks were already showing in her perfectly curated digital life. "Babe, something weird is happening," she said, calling me during my lunch break. "Lorette said there's a burst pipe under my table." My table. I've been sitting there every Sunday for 8 months. How does a pipe just randomly burst under my specific table? I made sympathetic noises while eating a sandwich at my desk. That's really weird, baby. Infrastructure problems, I guess. Have you tried that new place across town? Corner Cafe? I heard they have good lighting. She posted a pouty Instagram story about when your favorite brunch spot betrays you, with a photo of the construction signs around her former table. The engagement was noticeably lower than usual. Her followers didn't really care about her infrastructure problems. Her Thursday nail appointment got canceled with less than 24 hours notice. "We're completely booked. So sorry. We had an unexpected rush of wedding season bookings." Luxa's receptionist was apologetic but firm. No availability for weeks. Maddie sent them a lengthy direct message about brand partnership opportunities and the importance of maintaining relationships with content creators who provide valuable exposure. They replied with a cute beige heart emoji and radio silence. Friday brought the email from Sienna Boutique explaining their updated return policy. Maddie was absolutely furious because she'd already filmed an extensive haul featuring a YSL-inspired handbag, 3 dresses, and a leather jacket that she'd planned to return after just one quick try-on reel. "This is ridiculous," she fumed, forwarding me the email. "I've been promoting their stuff for months. I've probably brought them thousands of dollars in sales. And now they're trying to change the rules?" I read the email carefully. It was professionally worded, explained the changes as necessary for inventory management, and applied to all customers equally. Nothing personal, nothing targeted, just business. "Maybe they're having cash flow issues," I suggested. "Small businesses have to be careful about inventory." Every time one of her usual spots became unavailable, I was right there with supportive boyfriend energy. Never accusatory, never suspicious, never suggesting that anything was orchestrated. Just helpful problem-solving and emotional support. "It's probably just a rough patch, baby. These things happen in waves. Let's order some Thai food and have a cozy night in instead." In her mind, I was being the perfect boyfriend again. Supportive, understanding, ready to pay for takeout when her content creation plans got disrupted. Rafi and I moved into phase 2, not just cutting off her access to free stuff, but setting professional standards she couldn't possibly meet. He called this strategy raising the floor. If all her business interactions suddenly required actual contracts, deadlines, and accountability, she'd lose the wiggle room that her entire lifestyle depended on. Through a coffee roasting company I'd helped optimize their supply chain management, Maddie received an offer for her first legitimate paid collaboration in months. $400 for 2 Instagram posts and 1 TikTok video, complete with a proper contract that included FTC disclosure requirements, specific deliverable timelines, usage rights, and a standard no-fraud clause prohibiting fake followers or manipulated engagement statistics. She signed the contract immediately because it represented actual money, more than she'd made from her last 6 brand partnerships combined. The coffee company was legitimate, professional, and had worked with dozens of influencers before. This wasn't a setup or a trap. It was just a real business expecting real professional behavior. Then she promptly missed every single deadline. The contract required her first post within 5 business days. She posted it on day 7 with a caption that didn't include the required FTC disclosure hashtags. When they politely asked her to fix it, she argued that hashtags ruin the aesthetic and suggested they trust her audience to understand its sponsored content. The second post was supposed to go up exactly 1 week after the first. She posted it 10 days late using footage she'd filmed for a different brand 6 months earlier, just with different product labels awkwardly edited in. The lighting didn't match. The coffee cups were clearly different brands, and she was wearing the same outfit in photos that were supposedly taken weeks apart. The coffee company, with my quiet guidance on professional standards, issued a formal breach notice. They didn't demand money back or threaten legal action. They simply terminated the contract, requested that she remove the posts that violated FTC guidelines, and politely declined to work with her again. It wasn't scandalous or dramatic, just professional consequences for unprofessional behavior. She vented to me constantly about how everyone suddenly has impossible standards, and no one understands that content creation is an art, not a factory job. I delivered what might be the most honest line in this entire story. Deadlines aren't personal, Maddie. They're not against you specifically. They're just deadlines. She stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. I honestly didn't expect this part to become so cinematic, but apparently when you humiliate people publicly, they remember. Remember Jace Mendez, the personal trainer she'd rated 8 out of 10 for his V-lines and motorcycle? Turns out he's broke but proud, works 3 jobs to pay off student loans, and has zero patience for people who think money determines human worth. I sent exactly 1 anonymous email from a burner account created at the library. No threats, no doxing, just a link to her rating video and, thought you might want to see that you're still being used for content? Jace went completely nuclear. His response video, titled "So I'm Content Now," was a masterclass in controlled fury. Genuinely angry, but focused and articulate, making him seem credible rather than unhinged. She rated me an 8 for the abs, but apparently a 0 for my wallet, he said, looking directly into camera. Cool. Since we're sharing private information for entertainment, here are the text messages where she demanded I buy her a tennis bracelet to keep up appearances with her friends. He proceeded to show screenshots, including her exact words. If we're going to be seen together at Sarah's party, I need to look like I'm with someone who can afford me. The bracelet doesn't have to be real, just expensive looking. Then, he systematically destroyed her credibility, like teaching a graduate seminar in public relations warfare. Venmo request for emergency nail appointments. Screenshots of her asking him to lie about his motorcycle's cost. Restaurant receipts where she'd ordered expensive items, then forgotten her wallet. I worked overtime at 2 different gyms to pay for dates with someone rating me like meat for her internet friends, he concluded. But hey, at least I got an 8 out of 10 for my abs. The comments split half and half, but most people roasted her for being manipulative. Other people started sharing dating horror stories about influencers expecting financial support for the privilege of appearing in their content. Next came Tyler Klein, the sweet but boring college boyfriend. He's married now with a 3-month-old. His wife posted a scathing Instagram story that got screenshotted everywhere. He worked double shifts to buy you a necklace while you told people. Online, he was cheap and boring. He was 21, paying his way through school, and you demanded he spend textbook money on jewelry. Grow up and get a real job. Instagram mothers don't mess around defending their men. The quote repost cycle began immediately, spreading across mom blogs and women supporting women pages that suddenly decided financial manipulation wasn't very feminist. Then City Metro ran a feature about the ethics of turning relationships into content without consent. They interviewed me since I'd consulted for marketing agencies. I kept quotes vanilla. The internet rewards drama over character development. When someone's business model depends on humiliating people who trust them, there are usually consequences. They printed my comment beside a screenshot of Maddie holding the Saint Laurent bag saying current victim. The article went mildly viral locally. Maddie's followers dropped from 45.8 thousand to 32,000 in 36 hours. Brand partnerships evaporated. She disabled comments because every video got flooded with "rate this content 1 out of 10" and "current victim energy." Rafi's assessment: the internet is getting educated. The most devastating blow didn't come from social media backlash or ex-boyfriends with grievances. It came from her own parents after they read the City Metro article and started asking questions about our relationship. Her mother called me on a Thursday evening, actually sobbing over the phone, saying they had no idea she'd been using me like a personal ATM machine. They'd been under the impression that I was the one pushing expensive gifts on her to maintain the relationship, that I was some kind of older guy who was trying to buy affection from a younger woman. We thought you were love-bombing her, her mother confessed through tears. She told us you insisted on paying for everything and got upset when she tried to contribute. She made it sound like you were controlling her financially. I sent them a zip file of screenshots the next day. Not maliciously, not to hurt Maddie, but because they deserved to know the truth about what their money was enabling. Bank statements showing months of one-sided transactions. Text conversations where she promised to pay me back for dinners and then never did. Venmo requests that she'd send but never fulfill. Screenshots of her online shopping with my credit card information. Her father called me 2 hours after opening that zip file. I owe you an apology, he said, his voice tight with controlled anger. We've been supplementing what we thought was her side business, but now I see we've been funding her treating people like garbage. The financial consequences came swift and brutal. Her monthly allowance, which I learned was $1,800 per month for business expenses, got cut off immediately. The luxury apartment lease they'd co-signed, 30 days notice to vacate, the credit cards linked to their family account, frozen effective immediately. The car payment for her leased BMW, return the keys by Friday or start making payments yourself. My phone started buzzing like a smoke detector with a dying battery. 99 plus text messages per day, sometimes more. The progression of her messages over the next week was like watching someone's entire worldview collapse in real time. Day 1. Can we please talk? This is all getting blown out of proportion. Day 2. My parents are being completely insane. They don't understand how business partnerships work. Day 3. I can't make rent this month. Can you spot me until my next brand deal clears? Day 4. Please just answer me. Why are you punishing me like this? Day 5. It was supposed to be a joke video. You know I didn't mean those things seriously. Day 6. I haven't eaten today. My card got declined at the grocery store. Day 7. I can't stop shaking. Please forgive me. I'll do anything. Here's the part where I need to be completely honest about my own moral boundaries. I didn't want to break her psychologically. I wanted her to experience appropriate consequences for inappropriate behavior. But there's a line between justice and cruelty that I wasn't willing to cross. Rafi kept me grounded during this phase. You're not playing God, brother. You just turned off the cheat codes she was using to avoid reality. That's not abuse. That's just default life settings for people who have to work for a living. But when her mother called me on day 8, voice shaking, saying she was genuinely worried that Maddie might hurt herself, it cut through all the strategic planning and internet justice. That's the line. That's where consequences stop being educational and start being dangerous. I told her mother I'd talk to Maddie, but only on my terms, and only if she was genuinely ready to listen rather than manipulate. The St. Clair house is one of those colonial revival monsters with perfect hedges, a circular driveway that curves like a golf course fairway, and enough square footage to house 3 normal families. When I arrived, it was quiet as a morgue. Her mother answered the door looking like she'd aged 5 years in the past week, dark circles under her eyes and hands, shaking slightly as she gestured toward the staircase. She's upstairs, was all she said. Thank you for coming. Maddie's bedroom had transformed into something between a cave and a crime scene. Heavy curtains drawn tight against the afternoon sun, creating an artificial twilight that made everything look gray and lifeless. Cold plates of untouched food sat on every surface. Her parents had clearly been trying to coax her to eat. Makeup was smeared across towels and pillowcases like abstract art. Mountains of tissues overflowed from wastebaskets. The unmade bed looked like a disaster zone. Covers twisted into knots and pillows on the floor. She looked genuinely rough in a way I'd never seen before. Hair in a messy bun, secured with what appeared to be a rubber band. No makeup, eyes swollen and red from days of crying. She was wearing an oversized college sweatshirt that had seen better decades and yoga pants with stains on them. For the first time since I'd known her, there was absolutely zero performance in her face or posture. No awareness of angles or lighting. No consideration of how she looked or what image she was projecting. Just a person who'd hit a brick wall at 90 miles per hour and was still trying to figure out what had happened. She immediately launched into rapid-fire apologies, explanations, justifications, and promises. The words came out in a breathless rush, like she was afraid I'd leave if she stopped talking. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. It was supposed to be funny content. Everyone makes those videos. I didn't think you'd actually see it. The comments got out of hand. I was going to delete it, My parents are overreacting. I can fix this. I can make it right. Please don't hate me. I'll do anything. I held up my hand to stop her. Breathe. Then say it clearly and simply. She took a shaky breath and tried again, but slower this time. I used you. I humiliated you publicly for entertainment. I acted like a monster because I thought it would get me views and followers. We sat in silence for several minutes. The only sounds were the distant hum of the air conditioning and occasionally a car driving past outside. I told her I could forgive her as a human being. People make mistakes, people hurt each other, people learn and grow. But I could not continue being her boyfriend. I was not her content creation partner. I was not her financial safety net. We were not rebuilding a romantic relationship. If she wanted to rebuild something, it needed to be with herself and with the other people she'd burned along the way. I told her to find a therapist and actually go to the appointments. Get a real job with real responsibilities and real consequences. Stop trying to be famous and start trying to be useful. Stop asking other people to finance her public image and start figuring out how to support herself. She asked, "What do I do about the internet? How do I make this go away?" I said, "You log off completely and let it die naturally. You're addicted to people watching you, but attention isn't actually food or shelter or human connection. Find something real to be good at instead of trying to be good at being seen." She nodded, still crying, making promises about change and growth and becoming a better person. I don't accept promises from people in crisis because promises made during emotional breakdowns are usually just attempts to stop the immediate pain rather than genuine commitments to change. I told her we'd have zero contact unless it was specifically about making amends to people she'd hurt. No friendship, no staying in touch, no checking in to see how she was doing. Clean break. When I got back to my truck, Raffi was waiting in my driveway with 2 cups of coffee and a knowing expression. "How'd it go, morality man?" "She's broken," I said. "Actually broken. Not just having a bad day." "Good," he said, handing me a coffee. "Sometimes people need to break before they can build themselves into something better. You showed mercy. Now, we finish the job. Let me be crystal clear about something. I'm not Batman, and this isn't a movie. I'm a warehouse operations nerd who happened to learn pressure points in human psychology. The revenge wasn't explosions or public humiliation or anything that would land me in jail. It was paperwork, professional boundaries, and natural consequences with a light garnish of poetic justice. Step 1. Remember Sienna Boutique's updated return policy? Maddie had filmed that extensive haul featuring the YSL-inspired handbag, 3 dresses, and a leather jacket, as part of what she claimed was a brand collaboration. She'd tagged them extensively, mentioned them in her captions, and then tried to return everything after posting the content. The new 48-hour return window meant she was stuck with $690 worth of merchandise she'd budgeted to return. She spent 20 minutes arguing with the store manager, escalating to yelling, demanding to speak to the owner, threatening to post negative reviews, and finally offering to make it worth their while if they'd bend the rules. The manager held firm with polite professionalism. Store policy was store policy. No exceptions. This happened the exact same week her car payment was due and her parents had frozen her credit cards. She called me sobbing, begging for help, promising she'd pay me back as soon as her next brand deal came through. "I'm not your bank anymore, Maddie," I said calmly. "You're going to have to figure this out yourself." She hung up on me. Step 2. The coffee collaboration breach notice became official and public. They posted a polite but firm statement on their social media accounts. "We've terminated our partnership with a content creator who failed to meet contractual obligations and professional standards. We're moving forward with creators who understand the importance of deadlines and FTC compliance." No names mentioned, but everyone in the local influencer scene knew exactly who they meant. It was the opposite of clout, public proof that she couldn't handle basic professional responsibilities. Other brands started distancing themselves from her because nobody wants to work with someone who has a reputation for missing deadlines and violating advertising regulations. Meanwhile, a job listing appeared for a receptionist position at a warehouse parts supplier I occasionally consult for. The work was straightforward: answering phones, filing paperwork, greeting customers, basic data entry. Starting pay was $16 per hour, with health benefits after 90 days. I passed along her resume because I'm not actually evil, and everyone deserves a chance to earn an honest living. They called her for an interview the next day. She didn't show up. When they called to ask what happened, she explained that she'd had a panic attack about working in an ugly industrial building and couldn't handle the aesthetic trauma of being associated with warehouse work. They didn't reschedule. Step 3 was entirely Rafi's idea, and it was diabolically perfect. We organized a small charity fundraiser at Corner Cafe for a local youth sports program that actually needed equipment and uniforms. The invite list included several of the small business owners she'd previously annoyed, tried to use, or treated poorly during her collaboration attempts. Rafi handled most of the coordination and was absolutely brutal in the most hilarious way possible. He has this gift for saying cutting things that sound like jokes until you think about them for a few seconds. At one point during the evening, he stood up with his coffee cup and said, "Here's to honest work and people who actually contribute something to their communities. If your job description is being seen, tonight you're invisible." The room erupted in knowing laughter. People understood the reference without anyone having to explain it directly. 2 days later, I received a long, desperate email from her mother. They were completely out of options. Maddie was quietly but effectively banned from most of the places she used to film content. The car had been repossessed. The apartment lease was terminated. She'd applied for dozens of retail and food service jobs, but couldn't make it through interviews without mentioning her content creation background and explaining why the work was beneath her brand. Her mother's exact words, "She needs help, and we can't provide it anymore. Could you possibly help coordinate something that looks responsible and mature? We're begging you." Translation: They were asking me to throw her a lifeline. Here's my response, and yes, it was calculated, but I don't think it was cruel. Think of it as a structured curriculum for growing up. Public accountability. Maddie would record a single take, unedited, no makeup video apologizing to every ex-boyfriend she'd rated publicly and to anyone she'd mocked for financial gain. No theatrical crying, no makeup removal drama, no ring lights or filters. She would say these exact words: "I used people for money and content. I was completely wrong. There is no excuse for my behavior." She would name me specifically and say, "Darren is not a victim. He's a decent man I disrespected for views and entertainment." She would explicitly tell her female followers not to milk men financially or treat relationships like business transactions. Financial restitution. She would sell the Saint Laurent bag herself and donate 100% of the proceeds to a local digital wellness nonprofit that helps teenagers establish healthy screen time boundaries and teaches them about the psychological manipulation tactics used by social media platforms. She would post the donation receipt publicly with no commentary about her own growth or lessons learned. Direct personal amends. She would write private, handwritten letters to Jace and Tyler, apologizing without qualifiers, excuses, or attempts to minimize what she'd done. She would offer to reimburse them for any gifts, meals, or expenses she'd demanded during their relationships. If they refused the money, she would donate equivalent amounts to the nonprofit and send them proof. Real employment. She would obtain and maintain legitimate employment, retail, food service, reception, anything honest, for 90 consecutive days while keeping all her social media accounts completely private. No comeback arc content. No subtweets about lessons learned or personal growth. No behind-the-scenes content about her journey. Just clock in, do work, clock out, repeat. Permanent silence. Regarding me. After the public apology, she would never mention me again in any context, positive or negative. No learned from my ex content. No references to personal growth through past relationships. No hints or indirect references. I would become a complete ghost in her narrative forever. I emailed this list to her mother with exactly 2 sentences. If she completes everything on this list honestly and completely, I'll give one statement to City Metro saying she's making genuine efforts to change. If she doesn't, pretend I don't exist. It took a full week of family discussions, crying, arguing, and what I imagine were some very difficult conversations about responsibility and consequences. Then it actually happened. The apology video went live on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., when most of her remaining followers would be checking their phones. No filters, no ring light, puffy eyes from crying, completely script-free. She was sitting in what appeared to be her childhood bedroom, with none of the usual aesthetic staging. It was honestly solid. She said all the ugly parts without trying to make herself look better or minimize the damage she'd caused. She said my name clearly and explicitly stated that I wasn't her victim. I was her wake-up call. She told her followers that financial manipulation was a form of abuse and that treating people like ATMs was morally bankrupt. The comments were split between people who thought she was genuinely remorseful and people who thought it was another performance. But the important people saw it. The business owners she'd burned, her parents, my close friends, and the ex-boyfriends she'd humiliated. She listed the Saint Laurent bag on a high-end consignment website the same day. It sold within 48 hours for $2,150. The depreciation was honestly depressing, but luxury goods lose value fast once they're used. She posted a screenshot of the donation receipt to Camden Digital Wellness, a local nonprofit that I'd researched and confirmed was legitimate. Rafi commented from his real account, "Good start. Keep going. Don't relapse into nonsense." A week later, she was standing behind the counter at Parts Pro Supply, wearing a navy blue company polo shirt and learning SKU codes for industrial fasteners. When Rafi and I stopped by to purchase some bolts we didn't actually need, she rang us up professionally, said thank you, and made appropriate small talk about our project, without mentioning social media, content creation, or her former life. No cameras anywhere. No content being created. Just a person doing honest work for honest pay. City Metro contacted me for a follow-up comment 2 weeks later. I gave them exactly one quote. "She's doing the work now. Leave her alone to do it." Then I shut up completely and went back to fixing a broken inventory tracking system for a local bakery. That's the revenge. Not a Hollywood explosion or public destruction or anything that would make for dramatic content. A methodical demolition of an unsustainable lifestyle, replaced with a boring, stable, authentic one that required actual effort and provided actual value. And yes, it made them beg, politely through her mother, for my help climbing out of the hole she'd dug. I provided terms that were firm but fair. She accepted them and followed through. The cruelty, if you want to call it that, was forcing her to experience normal adult life at normal speed without constant applause or external validation. Update. The funniest part. 6 months later, Rafi and I are grilling burgers in my backyard on a perfect Saturday afternoon in late spring. He's telling me about a project where he had to rewire an entire office building because the previous electrician had done everything wrong. Some people think they can skip the fundamentals and jump straight to the advanced stuff, he's saying while flipping a burger. But electricity doesn't care about your ego. Do it wrong, and reality teaches you real quick. And then he pauses, gets that particular grin that means he's about to deliver a perfect punchline, and says, "You know what the funniest part of this whole thing is? She rated you 1 out of 10 and still had to come crawling to you for 10 out of 10 grown man problem-solving skills." I laughed harder than I had in months. Real laughter, the kind that comes from genuine relief and the satisfaction of a job well done. Then I turned off my phone completely and put it in a drawer inside the house, because some moments don't need documentation. Some experiences are better when they're just lived rather than performed. Final update for the comments section. For those asking, yes, she's still working retail. Yes, she's apparently doing well and has stayed off social media completely. No, her parents and I don't have regular contact, but we exchange polite greetings when we run into each other around town. No, I will not help you deal with your own influencer problems or romantic revenge situations. This worked because it was proportional, completely legal, and focused on natural consequences rather than punishment for punishment's sake. Handle your own situations like adults. Learn the difference between justice and cruelty. Set boundaries. Document everything. Let people experience the consequences of their choices without trying to shield them from reality. And maybe, just maybe, think twice before you call someone your current victim on the internet. The streets have eyes, and sometimes those eyes belong to people who know how to use spreadsheets.